The sky is thin. Is it dawn or dusk? As I'm watching from outside, I cannot tell. A vast sky and a high field. A sky that seems unreachable, even with arms outstretched. And clouds that do seem reachable with arms outstretched. This is a battle she once went through. There are no cavalry alongside. The grassland, once golden as far as the eye can see, is gone. Under the dark gray sky, the only thing stretching out is the remains of battle, which she is well accustomed to. There is no emotion. For her, such scenes must have been ordinary. There is nothing left in her lonely heart. Leaning on her golden sword, she breathes deeply once and slowly relaxes her shoulders. Battle must be over. After glancing at the bodies of the defeated soldiers, she returns to her camp. That was the battle she experienced. The calm attitude is the same as now. No matter what trouble she's in, she's just as I know her. And in that way, I see the dream of a king. From the moment she drew the sword from the stone, she was not human. After becoming a feudal lord like her father, she became a king with many knights. She was called King Arthur, or Artoria, and the girl who had tried to become a knight had her life turned around. She acted as the son of the king. That is because the one to govern many territories and control the knights had to be male. The only ones who knew that the king was just a girl were her father and the mages. She literally covered herself in steel and sealed the truth for all her life. Of course, it's not like that no one grew suspicious of her. But the king of knights with the holy sword will not suffer wounds or age. Excalibur bears the protection of the fairies, making its possessor immortal. Therefore, nobody questioned the knight's small body, and the fact that seemed like that of a girl became honored by the knights as a good-looking king. Of course, such things were not a problem. The king was truly invincible. There was no room for body size nor looks to enter into it. The people living in fear of savage invasions wanted a strong king, and the knights of the battlefield would only follow an excellent commander. The king met all of these criteria, and so no one questioned who the king was. Doesn't matter if the king is a child or a woman. The only point is that it must function as the king to protect the country. The new king was fair and selfless, and always stood in front of the army, defeating enemies on the battlefield. Many enemies and many people died, but the king's choices were always correct, and she served as the king, better than anyone else. There was no doubt and no need for doubt while the king was right. Knowing no loss on the battlefield, her army reconstructed the now lost cavalry and literally ran through the battlefield, defeating foreign infantries and crashing through numerous ramparts. Was she always in the front of the army because her country was behind her? She had to discard many people to join battle. As long as she joined battle, she had to defeat all her enemies. It was normal practice to meet military needs by sucking everything out of the local village for the battle to protect the country. In that regard, there could not be any knights that killed more people than her. I do not know if she ever found that a burden. That is not something I can tell from a dream. But there is no doubt in her figure running through the battlefield. She does not even narrow her eyes in grief when she sits on the throne. The king is not human. One cannot protect the people with human emotions. She kept that oath strictly. She settled every problem and worked hard in government affairs. She balanced the country without any deviation and punished people without a single mistake. And after ending yet another battle in victory, commanding the people without disorder and punishing hundreds of criminals, King Arthur does not understand human feelings. A knight close to her murmured, "Perhaps everyone felt that way." The more perfect she became as the king, the more they questioned her as ruler. A person without human emotions cannot rule over others. Several reputable knights left Camelot, but the king took it as a natural event and accepted it as part of the process of government. Thus, the fair king, honored by her knights, insulated herself. But such trivial things are no concern to a king. Her mind will not change even if she is abandoned, feared, or betrayed. There's no right or wrong. She abandoned emotions from the moment she decided to pull out the sword. And in that way, her final battle began. The battle at Badon Hill ended in a complete victory, and because of the overwhelming results, the savages sought a reconciliation. The country that would have just awaited destruction earned a brief period of peace. The chaos that demanded an absolute hero has ended. Britain is finally returning to the country she has dreamed of. The scene starts to fade away. Somewhere in my head, I realize that I'm waking up and the dream is ending. I will lose consciousness and wake up soon. But before that, something really annoys me. She's stupid. Certainly, she must have been strong and a good fighter. But that doesn't mean she's well suited for it. God damn it. God damn. Oh. I'm also angry at the people around her. If she didn't notice it, someone else around her had to tell her, or she'd keep making the same mistake forever. Jeez. She had so many people around her, so why did none of them tell her the truth? Man, Mia never really gives up that no women fighting thing, huh? Wonder how he would feel about that being the entire basis of this franchise at this point. Anyway, let's wake up for night 12, everybody. Night 12. Amiya wakes up to Saber watching over him, and with a sad face, she tells Amiya that she had a dream. Okay. Amiya briefly feels self-conscious about the mana transfer, and the two head off to breakfast. Amiya and Saber plan out their day. It's going to be a light one for once. They're just going to have breakfast and do their training as normal. Although it seems like Saber doesn't really want to do the training and seems nervous about it for some reason. Eventually, Rin joins them for breakfast and she seems pretty relaxed, all things considered. And why shouldn't she be? After all that's left is Lancer, Caster, and Assassin, and they should all be chump change compared to Hercules. Personally, this is a take I highly disagree with, not just for trope savviness, but I mean, we've already seen what Lancer can do, and I wouldn't take that as an auto win for Saber. But Rin is convinced that Saber will be able to beat anyone. After all, Saber is probably the best Saber in the world. After all, whose sword is more legendary than the sword of King Arthur? Rin, referring to Saber as King Arthur, gets Amiya's attention, and he asks her, "So, you've known all along?" To which Rin says, "I've had my suspicions for a while, but after last night, I was 100% sure." We briefly touch on Saber's myth here, specifically Saber's death, which is a weird thing to talk to about someone. In this version of Saber's death, she is betrayed by the majority of her knights and killed in the Battle of Camelot, and then has one of the surviving knights, Sir Bedivere, return Excalibur to the lake. I will take any information I can, as there are about 10 million different versions of the King Arthur myth, and I would love to know which versions we're rolling with here. Pushing past this, Rin has a more pressing issue on her mind. And then, Tosaka suddenly glares at me. They couldn't have possibly. No, they. Oh.
それについては私も言いたい。バーサーカーを失ったとはいえ、イリアスフィールは危険なマスターだ。それを保護するなど、シロはどうかしています。そうそう。あんなのは綺麗に預けちまえばいいのよ。
Yeah. The two judge this as a good time to glare at me together. That's right. Illya faded after Berserkers disappeared. Couldn't just leave her be since she showed no sign of waking up, so I brought her here. Tosaka and Saber objected, so I was the one who carried her. A master who loses their servant has to run away or go to the church for protection before they're killed by other masters. Tosaka says we should let Kotomine take care of her, but I'm letting her sleep in a room here since I don't think he would take very good care of her. You know, I don't entirely disagree with the second part of that. I don't know what I would do with her. Because if you just let her be on her own, that can come back to bite you in the ass. But this can make you come back to bite you in the ass. And giving her to Kotomine, I don't think she would stay if that's an option. And I don't trust Kotomine in general. Maybe you just kill her, honestly. She's too much.
シロ、あなたの考えは立派ですが、イリアスフィールに関わるのは危険です。今ならまだ間に合う。早々に教会に預けるか。
That would all
その令状を剥奪す
man
るべ
smells
き
like
だ。
her entire body. Saber glares at me. She's serious. Convincing her will be really difficult.
なんだよ。だってほっとくわけにはいかないだろう。イリアはまだ子供なんだし、様子もおかしかった。琴峰に預けるのはなんかかわいそうだし。
かわいそう。あんたね、あの子にあんな目に遭わされて、まだそんな寝ぼけたこと言うわけ？同感です。シローはイリアスフィールに感情移入しすぎています。彼女は何度もシローを殺そうとしたではないですか。
But did she? I mean, yes, but she spared us more than... She could have killed us multiple times and didn't. Us in particular. The two are even more united now, but I can't let them talk me out of it.
確かにイリアは敵だった。けど、
That's not true.
あいつに邪気はなかった。ちゃんと言いつけてやる奴がいれば、イリアはもうあんなこと。
Now that's insane.
それに、一番初めに言ったはずだ。俺はマスターを殺すために戦うんじゃない。戦いを終わらせるために戦うだけだって。
Also, she did kill Shinji. Like, she murdered your, like, let's say your best friend's brother. Now, I know he was a piece of shit too, but you seem to care about him for some reason. Like, I'm not mourning Shinji's loss, but Illya is not innocent.
それは分かってはいますが。
Saber doesn't agree, but her voice softens. But
そう。それじゃあイリアスフィールのしたことを全部許すっていうの？言っとくけど、あの子は私たち以外のマスターも襲っている。もしかしたらもう何人かマスターを殺しているかもしれない。それでもあなたは
それは。
that's right. Illya admitted it. She killed Shinji. Shinji used Ryder to try to kill the students at the school. If those were his intention as master, I guess his death couldn't be helped. But still, Shinji's a friend I've known for years. Well, that's all I just said. And thinking about his sister, Sakura, I can't forgive everything Illya did.
それじゃ終わりがないだろう。イリアがマスターで亡くなって自分のしたことを悔やめるようになるのなら俺は助けるべきだと思う。
She's not gonna regret it. Like,
そうね。それは正しい。
even if she says she does, I don't.
けどシロ、私はアーチャーのことを帳消しにする気はないの。
That's another good point.
私のアーチャーはあいつに殺されたんだから。
Everybody freezes. We freeze looking at each other. And
何よ。サーバントなんて最後にはみんな消えちゃうじゃない。そんなこと気にしてるなんてマスター失格ね、リン。
she's just here. The girl under discussion, who should be asleep, appears.
イリアスフィール。
Don't look her in the eyes.
待ちなさい。あなたたちに用はないわ。戦う気もないからそんなに切り立たないでくれない？ほんと同じレディーとして恥ずかしいわ。私よりずっと年上なのにたしなみってものがないんだから。
Illya shrugs her shoulders as if to show her shock.
なんですって？
Saber and Chisaka get mad together. They are scarier in a different sense.
まあそれも怒らないであげる。今はあなたたちに構ってる場合じゃないもの。
Saying that, Illya turns to me. Is this an illusion? Illya pinches the end of her skirt in a polite manner and bows to me respectfully.
イリア。
礼を言います、セイバーのマスター。敵であった我が身まで気遣うその心遣い、心より感謝いたしますわ。
あ
I stare at Illya in surprise. Saber is silent as well, so she might not have expected it either. Tosaka is drinking milk and looking at Illya suspiciously. Same. And then, Illya gives her usual smile and...
なんてね。やっぱりシロはお兄ちゃんだ。
She comes straight for me and hugs my neck. I choke at the surprise attack.
何者？
Tosaka is choking on the milk she's drinking. Saber gets mad, but keeps a straight face.
離れなさい、この無礼者。
Saber runs to me. But Illya spins around behind me, using my neck as a fulcrum.
無礼者はどっちよ。サーバントのくせに私に意見しようなんて100年早いわ。
あなたに従う義務もなければ意思もありません。減らず口を言う暇があるなら今すぐ城から離れなさい。
そんなの聞かないよーだ。ねえシロ、昨日みたいにしよう。あれ、本部って言うんだよね。
What the fuck? Illya twirls and twirls. Saber goes around to try to catch her. This is bad. This is really bad. The two stare down doesn't end. Must be because she's watching from a distance. Tosako wipes the milk off her mouth as if nothing is happening and says it in a disinterested manner.
どうでもいいんだけどね、二人とも。そのままだと、そいつ死ぬわよ。
The two look at my face in surprise. Yes, my neck is being choked and my life is in danger. I'm in a real pinch right now. Well, let's check the current situation. The hamburger I was making is in the refrigerator right now. That's the most important part. This goes on for a bit longer, but that's the situation. Rin's playing her cards very close to the chest, but would prefer that Illya is either sent to the church or sent back to her castle. Illya doesn't care what happens as long as she gets to stay, and Saber doesn't care what happens as long as Illya gets to leave. Personally, I have no problem protecting Illya as long as we get her to remove her command spell. As long as she has it, she's a threat. But Amiya sees other options. What? Oof. Okay, this is another rough one. But hey, when aren't they? So obviously, I don't trust Illya. I think sticking around with her may very well be a death sentence. I think she may be planning some magic bullshit to try to steal Saber away and bind her to Illya. Or maybe she's just trying to use Amiya to get close to another master so she can take their servant instead. Or maybe she's planning some other Cthulhian horror bullshit that I can't even possibly comprehend. Since I don't trust Illya, should be an easy choice, right? Well, the problem is I don't really trust the church either. That Kodomine was a creepy motherfucker, and I'm not so sure that if I hand Illya over to him, something's not gonna happen. Either A, we hand Illya over to the church and she immediately bails and is left to her own devices to plot whatever she wants without anyone to get in her way. Or we hand Illya over to the church and they use her for some sort of insidious ritual or some shit to obtain power and assert themselves as the true villains of this game. So I'm definitely torn, but in the end, we're gonna protect Illya. Maybe we'll be more able to prevent her from enacting some sort of plot if she's under our roof. Maybe Amiya's right and we can actually trust her. And maybe the tiebreaker in this decision was that I like Illya a lot and I want to see more of her. Maybe. Kiritsugu used to say that girls should be protected, and most of all, I don't want to let a child suffer. We're completely different worlds, Amiya.
いや、俺はイリアはここにいるべきだと思う。聖杯戦争は終わってないんだ。残りのマスターと決着がつくまで、イリアはうちでかくまいたい。
シローがそう言うんなら、私もここにいてあげるね。
イリア、苦しいって。
I can't believe I did that. Illya hugged me, but I get her off of me. Well, there's no need to do that myself as Saber does it for me.
何よ、さっきから邪魔ばっかりして。あなた、私に恨みでもあるの？
当然でしょう。その身がシローに何をしたか私は忘れることなどない。シローもシローです。イリアスフィールをかくまうなど百害あって一理なしとわからないのですか。
なんでだよ。イリアにはもうサーバントはいないんだから危険ってことはないだろう。マスターじゃなくなったんだから。それより下手に放り出して襲われたらどうするんだ。イリアの命だって危ないし他のマスターに力をつけさせることになるぞ。
それはそうですが、しかし。
Saber hesitates. Whatever she may say, Saber does understand that Illya would be attacked by other masters if she was left alone.
じゃあ次はこっちの番ね。セイバーを陥落したところ悪いけど、私はまだ説得されてないわ。いいシロ。そいつはまだマスターなのよ。サーバントを失っても、霊樹がある限り、マスターはマスターだって教えたでしょ。
And thus, drinking tea gracefully, Tosaka interrupts the conversation.
おい、それどういう意味だよ、トサカ。
We talked about this forever ago, dude.
だから、霊樹さえ残っていれば、サーバントとは何人でも契約できるのよ。主のいないはぐれサーバントがいて、かつマスターにそのはぐれサーバントを許容できるキャパシティさえあれば、何人とだって契約はできるわ。
Wow, really? Oh wait, that's a little different. That's a little different than what I was thinking.
なんだよそれ。じゃあ優れたマスターなら何人でもサーバントと契約できるってことか。
何人でもってわけじゃないわ。聖杯の力で呼び出せる英霊は7人が限度だから、最大でも7人ね。
That's insane.
もっともどんなに優れた魔術師だって複数のサーバントを具現化させる魔力なんてないわ。あるとしてもその場合は10の魔力を5に分けて2人のサーバントを刺激することになる。そうなるとサーバントの能力は下がるから複数のサーバントと契約する旨味はないけどね。
I see. So if I formed a contract with Saber and Berserker, Saber and Berserker would both exist, sharing my magical energy. So their abilities would considerably decrease. So that means it's more efficient to choose one servant to give magical energy to.
そういえば前に言ってたっけ、サーバントってマスターを変えられるって。あれってこのことだったんだな。
あら、珍しく勘がいいじゃない。シローの言う通り、サーバントがマスターを変えるっていうのはそういうことよ。マスターを失ったサーバントは消えるまでいくらか猶予がある。で、その間に他にサーバントを欲しがっているマスターを探して契約すれば元通りってわけ。だからリンに気を許しちゃダメよ、シロー。そいつだってまだマスターなんだから。シローを殺してセイバーを奪うかもしれないし、まだ生きてるサーバントと再契約するかもしれないわ。
Hey, I don't. Just something about Illya going, "Hey, Shiro, I don't think we can trust Rin. She's still a master after all."
そう。それはあんたにそっくりお返しするわ、イリア。そんなことないもん。私、他のサーバントとなんて組まない。イリアのサーバントはずっとバーサーカーだけなんだから。
Hanging her head slightly, Illya murmurs, "I can understand why the two gasped. I don't know what kind of relationship Illya and Berserker had. I really wish she wouldn't word it that way. But I can tell that for Illya, that servant was special. That's a surprise and a pleasant one. Illya was cold-hearted as a master, but she still valued her partner."
あ、でもシロが負けちゃったら、セイバーは私がもらうわ。
Oh, she just flat out says it.
私はシロ以外のマスターが勝つのは認めない。でも、もしシロが負けちゃったら、私が代わりに勝ってあげるんだから。
Illya says so to Saber and Tosaka.
バカなことは言わないでほしい。私はシローのサーバントです。あなたのサーバントになるつもりはありません。
別にそれでも構わないわ。私はシローに勝ってもらえればそれでいい。私が勝つのもセイバーがシローを守ってくれるのもどうせ最後は同じだもの。
Illya says things in a strange way. Well, I can tell she wants for me to win, But why would she want that? Then, Tosaka must have found it strange too, as she starts to think.
私は構います。ともかく私は認めません。リン、あなたからもシロに忠告してください。
ごめんなさい。聞いてなかったわ。
ですから、イリアスフィールをここにかくまうのは反対だということです。
ああ、それ？いいんじゃない？別にかくまうぐらいなら。
Hey!
は？
Saber freezes. Surprised as well, so it's natural for the protesting Saber to freeze.
リン、あなた、正気ですか？
ええ、冷静に考えてみればリスクはどっちも同じなのよ。イリアを一人にするのもここでかくまうのも教会に預けるのも変わらない。いえ、むしろイリア目当てでマスターが来てくれた方が助かるわ。今のセーバーなら他のサーバントが束になっても負けっこない。
You really up Saber.
それはあなただって望むところでしょ、セイバー。ま、あなたが他のサーバントに負けるって言うんなら話は変わるけど。
まさか今の私がどのような状態かリンなら分かっているでしょう。シロが私のマスターで
しょ。ならイリアをかくまうのも問題ない。それに気になることもある。シロの選択はもしかしたらとんでもない妙手だったのかもしれないわ。
I'm getting compliment. Oh, look at that shit. Tosaka then falls silent. Saber must have accepted that as she reluctantly moves away from Illya. And with that settled, well, as settled as it's gonna get, the rest of the day is pretty much business as usual. Just the regular training days, you know, like episode 7 and 8. Except, well, Illya's here, obviously. Illya interrupts Amiya and Saber's training because she wants to play with Amiya, and honestly, the training with Saber's pointless. After all, Illya can just make him stronger if she wanted to, which is an interesting comment. Amiya asks Saber to get rid of Illya, to which Saber remarks, "Oh, no. You're the one who wanted Illya around, so it's your problem to get rid of her." Illya and Amiya eventually come to the compromise of just letting Illya watch Amiya train with Saber. During their first break, Illya comments that for training, it sure does just look like Saber beating the shit out of Amiya, which Amiya comes back with, "Hey, you should have seen me before. At least this time she hasn't knocked me out yet." At first, it sounds like a comment about how Amiya's improving, but Illya points out, well, she didn't knock you out, but she definitely could have. There were multiple times that you left an opening, and she just didn't take it. When Amiya confronts Saber about this, she becomes shy. Something's been making her hesitate when it comes to striking Amiya. The two head back to training, but eventually, Saber calls for an early lunch break and seems to be quick to try to get away from Amiya. We are given an option on how to confront Saber about this, and I choose to be as direct as possible, but she continues to be evasive, blushing, and hiding her face. It would appear to me that the scene that shall not be named is having some lasting effects. During lunch, Illya eats, well, like a child, and Saber cleans her face. Here's that CG. It's the only reason I'm mentioning it. Duh. Once training is completed, it's time for us to go do our magic training with Rin, while Saber and Illya both claim that they are going to go rest. I find one of those two actually resting more likely than the other. Once we're alone with Rin in her room for our training, she gets brutally honest with us. The fact is, Amiya summoning that sword was on a noble phantasm level magic spell, and it should have killed him immediately, as it was way too much magic for any mage to summon. This surprises Amiya, as he thought he did something nothing special, just something that any mage could do. Which isn't the worst thing he's ever said, but it might be the stupidest. Rin checks on Amiya's body to make sure he's not injured, because she just cannot believe that he managed to get completely unscathed from something so dangerous. Her touching his body like that makes him blush. Rin's confused why Amiya is getting so fidgety, until she remembers exactly why her being close to him makes him nervous a certain night, and starts to tease him about it. Once Rin is finished with her medical exam of Amiya's body and finds that really there is nothing wrong with him, she declares that Amiya's body is bullshit. There's no reason this should have worked, and she's completely shocked and appalled what this guy is able to get away with. She then informs Amiya that no one in the magus community, I guess, magic community, whatever, nobody uses projection magic like that, as it is super dangerous and impractical. She advises Amiya to never try it again, or else he will certainly die for real this time. This is advice that Amiya will surely be ignoring, advice that I will also be ignoring, because Amiya is bullshit and he is totally broken. I can summon whatever I want, whenever I want, with no consequences. Rin goes through her bag to look for some medicine for Amiya, just in case. And while she's doing that, we get the opportunity to ask her a question. Well, you should know at this point that I'm never ever going to pick silence when I have the opportunity to ask something, but I am sick to death about hearing about projection magic at this point, so we'll go with question number 1, whatever the fuck that means. It turns out question number 1 is asking Rin how she survived having Hercules grab her out of midair, which, it's a pretty good question in hindsight. Amiya's like, do you just have rock hard abs and that's how you survived? Rin laughs at this, saying that all the crunches in the world would not have allowed her to survive the strength of Hercules. It turns out she'd actually used one of her strongest magic gems to strengthen her torso. Counting them up, Rin had used 3 magic gems for the distraction attack with the ice to get Hercules' attention and his arm frozen, 1 to strengthen her chest, and 5 for the killing blow. She has officially used up all of her strongest magic gems that she had been pouring magic into since she was a child. She's disappointed that it wasn't enough to take down Hercules, considering she basically put her entire life's work into that assault. I guess she should have just tried being the main character. I don't think I'm ever gonna get over that Caliburn scene, dude. With that side conversation now closed, Rin informs Amiya that there's nothing really she can teach him now, at the very least not during this Holy Grail War. When Amiya asks Rin what she'll do now, technically their alliance are now over, considering that Berserker's been defeated, Rin says she'll stick around. Amiya owes her for her giving up Archer, and as far as she's concerned, she's not out of this war yet. She lost her servant, but she is still a master, and she still intends on winning. Amiya also brings up that Saber's been acting weird, and she told me that she had a dream this morning. Rin also finds this weird, because servants don't dream. After magic training, Amiya decides he's going to go take a shower, and the fact that I'm bringing that up, and the fact that you've seen the thumbnail should give away that, yes, Saber is already in here, and she is currently taking a bath. Now, at first, this scene plays out exactly like it did in Night 7, with Amiya being his typical shonen protagonist self, and he's, oh no, I can't look away, but I shouldn't be looking. But Saber is acting differently than she did during Night 7. During Night 7, she was very stoic and unreactive. She didn't care about her naked body being shown to a man because she didn't consider herself a woman. She was a knight, and it didn't matter. But this time, Saber is clearly embarrassed. She's not acting like a normal anime female in this situation. She's not yelling at him, but she makes 2 very telling comments. First, she asks Amiya if he could please just leave her alone for a little while, if that's okay. And second, she says she's not embarrassed because she's naked. She's embarrassed because her body isn't like that of other girls. A muscular body must be unappealing to men. I have a lot to say about this. First off, and this is kind of a small thing, you can't really pull this whole muscular body thing with Saber. It just doesn't work. I get the point is that she's underestimating herself because she's never seen herself like this, but she's just, her art isn't muscular at all. But whatever, that's a small thing. More importantly, this scene makes me way less bothered by the sex scene. It is having a tangible, real impact on the story. It is affecting Saber's character. She was a character who had thrown away her sexuality entirely and then was forced in an extreme situation to embrace it, and is now struggling to cope with this new side of herself, especially around the person who contributed to her finding that part of herself in the first place. Mia. Don't get me wrong, sex scene is still completely out of nowhere and tonally like just way off base, but it's officially not the thing I hate the most about this game, because it led to a character arc, and one that's, I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Oh yeah, and I want to ask the people who played the remake of this, how is this stuff different in your version of the game? Because I feel like this Saber, obviously the naked stuff's gone, but I feel like this Saber character arc of becoming a woman, I guess, would be really out of nowhere without the sex scene. So is that the same, or what's going on with that? Anyway, we skip dinner, even though it was the first one with Illya, and head out to the shed for Amiya's late night training. Amiya is looking to break his rule with Rin about not using projection immediately, as he is planning on practicing it here in the shed. This is a decision I actually don't disagree with, as projection is going to be useful in the future. It just is. Before he can do this though, he's interrupted by Saber, who is looking for him. Amiya takes this opportunity to ask Saber about what Rin had told him earlier, about how servants don't dream. And if they don't, then what was she talking about earlier? Saber confirms that, yes, normally servants do not dream, as they are just spirits, so they don't sleep and therefore do not have the opportunity to dream. Even when she is resting her body, she's still unable to dream. But since a master and a servant's minds are connected, there are sometimes some overspill. So just like we have been looking at Artoria's past, she has been looking into Amiya's. This morning, Saber had dreamt about the fire from Amiya's past. What the fuck is that? No, seriously, what the fuck is that Sauron bullshit? Whoa, what the fuck? I mean, we've looked at the past before. The fire, the big fire, and Amiya's past, we've looked at it tons of times. That's never been there before. We even flash back to it a little bit later in this scene, and it's not there, but right now it's there. What the fuck is that? Anyway, so Saber says that Amiya does not consider his own safety at all at any point, and he's making the same mistake that she had made in the past. Amiya says to this that he's never wrong, which is just, fuck you, man. Seriously. Saber insists that Amiya needs to change his way, and also adds that she needs the Holy Grail, and that Amiya needs the Holy Grail.